ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे
वन्दे
परम्पराम्
ॐ सहना भवतु
भवतु
सहनौ
सहनौ
भुनक्तु
भुनक्तु
सह
भवै
वीर्यं
प्रभावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु
द्विषावहै
शान्ति
शान्ति शान्तिः
Om Tat Sat, Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om, good
ॐ
morning.
तत्सत् हरि ओम्
So, in the last class, we were on the second Valli, Brahmananda Valli of Taitriya Upanishad, and we were on Anuvaka number 8. And we had seen that part of the sentence, Sa Esha Anandasya Mimamsa Bhavati, which was that. Now we will see the analysis of Ananda Mimamsa. So we will chant a few lines more and then we will look at it. So please unmute yourself. This is 1, 2, 3. This is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the sixth line of the Anuvaka number 8. Yuva syat sadhu yuva dhyayakaha.
युवास्य साधुवाध्यायकः
Ashishto dridishto balishtaha.
आशिष्टो
बलिष्ठः
तस्येयं पृथिवी सर्वा वित्तस्य पूर्णा स्यात्
तस्येयं
पृथिवी
पृथिवी
सर्वा
सर्वा
तस्य
वित्तस्य पूर्णा स्यात्
स एको मानुष आनन्दः
स एको
एको मानुष आनन्दः
ते ये शतं मानुषा आनन्दाः
ते ये
शतं मानुष आनन्दाः
स एको मनुष्यगन्धर्वाणाम् आनन्दः
स एको
एको मनुष्य गन्धर्वाणाम् आनन्दः
श्रोत्रियस्य चाकामः तस्य
श्रोत्रियस्य चाकामः तस्य
ते ये शतं मनुष्यगन्धर्वाणाम् आनन्दाः
ते ये
ये शतं मनुष्य
शतमनुष्यगन्धर्वाणामानन्दाः
गन्धर्वाणाम्
स एको देवगन्धर्वाणाम् आनन्दः
स एको
एको देवगन्धर्वाणामानन्दः
श्रोत्रियस्य चाकामः तस्य
श्रोत्रियस्य चाकामः तस्य
ते ये शतं देवगन्धर्वाणाम् आनन्दः
ते ये
ते शतं
शतं
देवगन्धर्वाणामानन्दाः
देवगन्धर्वाणामानन्दाः
स एकपितॄणां चिरलोकलोकानाम् आनन्दः
स
स एकपितॄणां चिरलोकलोकानामानन्दः
आनन्दः
श्रोत्रियस्य चाकामः तस्य
श्रोत्रियस्य
श्रोत्रियस्य
चाकामः
चाकामः तस्य
ये ये शतं पितॄणां चिरलोकलोकानाम् आनन्दः
ते
ते
शतं
शतं
पितॄणां
पितॄणां चिरलोकलोकानामानन्दाः
चिरलोकलोकानामानन्दः
स एक आजानजानां देवानाम् आनन्दः
स एक आजानं
आजानजानां
आजानं
देवानामानन्दः
देवानामानन्दः
श्रोत्रियस्य चाकामः तस्य
श्रोत्रियस्य
श्रोत्रियस्य चाकामः
चाकामः
तस्य
So let us see up to there first. So I will mute you all. So yuva syat sadhu yuva adhyayakaha. Okay, so yuva syat. So yuva syat means yuva is a young person, a youth. So assume that there is a human being in his youth. So he's not a small child. It's not an old person also. He's in the prime of youth. And what is the sadhu yuva? So sadhu here means not the sannyasi. It means a cultured person. So sadhu yuva, he is a cultured, refined, dharmic youth. So we have to take it that he has got acquired sadhana chatushtayam. So amanitvam, madambitvam, etc. Whatever is there, he is there. Sadhu. And he's not arrogant at all. He understands that he is well versed, but he is not arrogant. And not only that, adhyayakaha. How has he got this sadhana chatushtayam? Because adhyayakaha, he has studied the shastras. He has got the values because he has studied scriptures. And scriptures have contributed towards that humility also. So they say, shastra vidya dadati vinayam. The shastram actually transforms you into a humble person. Then ashishto, dharishto, balishtaha. This is part of the mulam. So ashishta means person who has noble desires. So ashastra is a person who has desires, and ashastru, ashastru tamaha. That is the definition that Shankaracharya gives for ashishtaha. The tamaha prefix meaning that he is a person who has got a lot of very, very noble desires. Okay. And of course, there is another, uh, you know, uh, interpretation also, which we can see is Ashu plus Tamaha. So Ashishtaha means Ashastra Tamaha, and that can be broken as Ashu plus Tamaha. So that means a person who has a goal and quickly, what we call, acquires it. He doesn't waste much time. He puts in an effort and acquires quickly. Then Dridishtho. Dridishtho means person with drum, resolution, strong willpower. And Balishtaha is also strong, right? So you can see that all these adjectives, they are covering a lot of internal qualities which we are supposed to have, right? And also it means that his indriyas are in strong condition. Balishtaha, he is strong. All the indriyas are functional and working condition. And therefore, what happens? He is in a condition to enjoy sense pleasures. Then, then the Mulam says, Tasyayam Prithvi Sarva Vittasya Purna Syat. So, Tasya Ayam Prithvi. This Prithvi is Tasya, belongs to him. So he owns the entire earth. Right? Sarva Prithvi Tasya Syat. He is the owner of the entire earth. So we have to follow the argument closely. He is a young man in the prime of youth. He is healthy. He is cultured. He has got chitta shuddhi. Not only that, he has got the capacity to enjoy sense pleasures, and he owns the entire earth. He is the owner of the entire earth. And not only that, of course, owning the entire earth means this also. What is that? Sarva vittasya purnasya. All the wealth, purna vittasya, all the wealth on this earth, also tasya is belongs to him only. Right? So imagine a person like this. So when you say owns earth, you can take it as emperor, right? So the emperor of the earth, who is a young man, who is in the prime of youth, who is healthy, whose sense objects are available to him. All the sense objects on the earth are available to him. All the wealth on the earth is available to him. And he is in a condition to enjoy because the sense organs are good, he is healthy, so he can enjoy all the sense objects. What is the amount of ananda which he will have? So the mantra says, Sa eko manusha ananda. So this is one unit of ananda called manushya ananda. Okay, manushya ananda it is kosha ananda. It is reflected ananda. Remember, we are not talking about Bimbananda, the original Ananda, which you are. We are not talking about that. We are talking about the reflected Ananda, What do they mean by saying that his Indriyas are good and all sense objects are his and all money is his? These are the reflecting media which reflects the ananda that he has. He is content because everything is his. How much ananda, how much happiness can such a person enjoy? Sa eko manusha ananda. That is called the first unit, one unit of koshananda. Okay, and it's called manusha ananda. And Shankaracharya writes in his commentary, he's trying to explain why is this analysis starting like this. So Shankaracharya says that this highest human ananda. So remember that this description is of a person who is the owner of the earth. So presumably nobody can have more ananda than he has because everything is his. Right? He's emperor and his word is law. Everything is his. What is the element of ananda that he will have? That is the highest ananda any human being in a human body can enjoy on this earth. And therefore, that is taken as the highest human ananda. And in this discussion, remember that this is called Manusya Ananda, the highest human Ananda. It is one unit. So one unit of Ananda. Right. And Shankara says this highest human Ananda, Eko Manusya Ananda, is introduced here for the purpose of understanding what actually is Brahmananda. Right. And what is this Manusya Ananda? It is nothing but Vishayananda because it is reflected in objects only. And Shankara says you further that it is possible to understand this Brahmananda by starting with this highest unit of human Ananda. Right? Okay. Remember that we have to remember one more thing that for full enjoyment, you require adhyatmika sampatti, the internal values, and adi bhautika sampatti, also outside values, also you require. Now, in this discussion, this is the first unit of Ananda. So since I keep on saying first unit, you will wonder how many units are there, right? So there are going to be 10 units. If Manushya Ananda is the first level of Ananda, first level of Kosha Ananda, mind you, there are going to be 10 higher levels of Kosha. Now Shankara in his commentary gives a very, very interesting, analysis. He says this sense pleasure which you get, right? Vishaya Ananda. He says it's a mistake to think that it comes from Vishayas. It's a mistake to think that it comes from sense objects. What is what then is sense pleasure? He says you have a desire for a sense object, right? Anyway, anything you can have, ice cream, you can have a good Maruti, you can have a good car and a good house, anything, a sense object for you. So when the desire for the sense object gets fulfilled, when does it get fulfilled? When you acquire that sense object, right? So as long as you have the desire, the mind is disturbed because how do I get that sense object? How do I acquire the latest strawberry ice cream, right? So supposing I go and buy it, now it is mine. Right? When it is mine, the desire is fulfilled. And when the desire is fulfilled, what happens? The mind becomes calm. When the mind is disturbed, remember that all ananda gets reflected in the mind. So when the mind is disturbed, it's like a lake where there are waves coming and going. Nothing you cannot see inside. So the disturbed mind is not a good reflecting medium. And therefore, as long as the mind is disturbed, there is no Atmananda or Brahmananda being reflected in this mind because there are waves of disturbances in the mind. But when the desire is fulfilled, temporarily, the mind becomes calm. Why do I say temporary? Because until the next desire comes. Right? So when you acquire the object that you desire, the mind becomes calm. And in that temporarily calm mind, Brahmananda gets reflected. And therefore, I am able to experience that Brahmananda as Koshananda. That Koshananda is because of the Vishaya. So Vishayananda I'm able to experience. But I don't connect it to the quiet mind, and therefore I attribute the happiness to the Vishaya, to the sense objects. Now, how do we use logic to understand this? So we have Anvaya Vyatireka method. What is that Anvaya Vyatireka? Let us take, any object, a very harmless object we will take, strawberry ice cream. So I like strawberry ice cream. You guys can replace it with anything that you want. So what is the Anvaya part? Strawberry ice cream is present in my hands. Happiness is present. That is Anvaya, right? Then no strawberry ice cream is there. The happiness is not there. That is Vyatireka statement. So ice cream is there, happiness is there, Anvaya. Ice cream has gone, happiness has gone, Vyatireka. What is the conclusion? Strawberry ice cream is the cause of the happiness. So this is the logic which we attribute when we do not understand that the mind is the reflector of happiness of which is internal to me, which is Brahmananda. Right? And therefore, we say that objects give pleasure, and that is why desire arises for the object. What have we forgotten? That there is no happiness in an inert object. Vishaye ananda nasti. There is never any happiness in an object. And therefore, even laukika pleasures, worldly pleasures, are what? They are only reflected ananda. Pratibimba ananda. So this is all part of the commentary which Shankaracharya writes. I am not using the Sanskrit because it's not Sanskrit class, so just translating in English. And how does this pratibhimbam, how does this reflection take place? So Shankaracharya writes, when avidya, that is to say ignorance, is dominant, what does it do? It conceals the discriminative power. That is the veiling power of Mula Vidya, right? So when avidya is dominant, the viveka, vijnanam, is concealed because of the veiling power of Mula Vidya. And he says that all jivas, and he includes Lord Brahma, Hiranyagarbha in this. And Hiranyagarbha is a jiva, right? Because he is born. So all jivas, beginning from Brahmaji and up to the human beings, he says they experience sense pleasure. Right? And in experiencing this sense pleasure, if you analyze, there are several factors and very interesting analysis. He says the first is karma vashat, because of karma. So this you have to understand properly, because of punya karma phalam. This karma here means karma phalam, which means punya karma phalam. So karma vashat, because of adequate punyam only, we can enjoy Vishaya Ananda. If adequate punyam is not there, Vishaya Ananda will not be available to us. And not only that, you can do upasana also to generate more punyam. Because we have seen earlier that karma gives punyam, a certain amount of karma gives punyam, a certain type of karma gives punyam. And upasana combined with that karma, it enhances the punyam. So he says without either the punya karma generated from the punya karma phalam generated from the karma, or generated from the upasana. Without that, you cannot have Vishayarata. You cannot enjoy sense pleasures. Right? Then the question comes, in that case, is merely punyam sufficient? If I have lots of punyam, will it give me pleasure? He says no. He says punyam, because of the punyam, your indriyas must be in touch or must contact the Vishayas. When the Indriyas and the Vishayas are get into touch or contacted, they are united, then only Ananda can be enjoyed. So, three factors. Punya karma generated from karma and upasana, and Indriyas which contact Vishayas. So, three factors are there: Punya karma, Indriyas, and Vishayas. When all these are operating perfectly, Pratibimba Ananda is generated and is enjoyed. And he says, then he comes to the rest of his analysis. He says, this experience of Pratibimba Ananda, reflected Ananda, is very temporary. It is fleeting. It's very temporary and it's fleeting. And because of this, the sense pleasure found in the world is also temporary and fleeting. Why is it temporary and fleeting? Because the reflecting medium comes and goes. The Vishayas come and go. And the Ananda is there only as long as Vishayas are there. Therefore, since Vishayas come and go, the sense pleasures also come and go. Okay. There is something else which he doesn't write, but which we all know. That depending upon the purity of the reflecting medium, there can be different levels of Ananda. Right? There are gradations in the reflecting medium. Then there are gradations in the Ananda. And Shastra, we have seen already earlier, there are three gradations in Pratibimba Ananda: Priya, Moda, and Pramoda. So Priya Ananda is that Ananda which is derived from seeing the object of desire. Moda Ananda is that Ananda which is derived from acquiring the object of desire, which is one step, one level higher than Priya Ananda. Because in Priya Ananda, you only see the object. In Moda Ananda, you have acquired the object. And in Pramoda Ananda, you have actually enjoyed the object. So seen, acquired, enjoyed. So in that order, the levels are there. Enjoyed Ananda is the highest, Pramoda Ananda. In Moda Ananda, acquired object, and Priya Ananda, seen object. And he says that this gradation in the RM, in the reflecting medium, is also caused by the factors like karma, etc. Right? And this is what we are going to see. This gradation which you see, which we talked about, is going to be discussed as different types of Ananda. You'll have Manushya Ananda, Manushya Gandharva Ananda, Deva Gandharva Ananda, etc. Then you can ask a question: what is the logic that there will be more Ananda in higher lokas? The logic is the same. What is that? That Pratibimba Ananda it is, right? So when avidya, that is ignorance, kama and karma go away, that is to say when they become weak, then, and you have to connect this to the loka. The higher the loka, the less the avidya. And therefore, the more the avidya, the less the ananda. The less the avidya, the more the ananda. So in higher lokas, avidya is less and less. And therefore, you will find that in higher lokas, you'll have more and more ananda. Okay. And by explanation, he says that in this analysis, in every higher loka, you will find that the Pratibimba Ananda is 100 times, 100 times the level of the previous loka. So I'll repeat, in every loka, the Ananda, Pratibimba Ananda, is taken at 100 times the level of the Pratibimba Ananda in the lower loka, next lower loka. And this is experienced. And you will find this Ananda taking place again and again, this multiplication by 100 taking place again and again in this particular analysis until Hiranyagarbha Loka is reached. So Hiranyagarbha Brahmananda is the highest sense pleasure available in the Jagat. Hiranyagarbha Brahmananda means what? It is not original Ananda. It is not Brahmananda. It is the highest Pratibimba Ananda available in this universe. Because Hiranyagarbha is the reflecting medium and Brahmananda is reflected in Hiranyagarbha, which is the superior most entity in this universe. Right? And Shankara specifically says that Brahmananda is Hiranyagarbha Ananda. It is not Nirguna Brahma level. It is Saguna Brahma only. Okay. So this is his analysis, which is very. We have seen this in bits and pieces in our earlier texts and commentaries, but it was very exhaustive. Now, there's a question. If Vishaya objects are not the source of Ananda, then why do we get Ananda when we acquire the object? And this is what is being discussed here. That when you acquire an object, what happens? The desire for that object goes away, at least temporarily. Right? When you acquire an object, temporarily the desire goes away. It's quiet, mind gets quieted down. This temporary going away of the desire is called what? What is the Shastric word for desire going away?
Vairagyam.
Vairagya. So until you acquire the object, you will not have vairagyam. When you acquire the object, you will get vairagyam for that object. And therefore, a very important rule. Whenever you are analyzing, remember that until vairagyam is dispassion, until vairagyam, dispassion for an object arises, the desire for that object remains. And therefore, it's a very interesting point. What we have so far we have called Vishaya Praptihi, acquisition of the object. Shastra says you should change the name. It is not Vishaya Praptihi, it is Vishaya Vairagya Praptihi. Don't call it acquisition of an object, call it attainment of Vairagyam for that object. Now, how does one get Vairagyam for an object? There are two ways. One, of course, is as we saw, the moment you get the object, you no longer desire the object because you already have it, and therefore you've got vairagya. Right? So, one way of getting this vairagya is to get the object itself. And the other way is by using discrimination to see the defects in the object. So, dosha darshanam of the Vishaya, that's the second method. So, there are two methods for getting vairagyam of any object, of any Vishaya. One is actually acquiring the Vishaya, the object, and the other is by Viveka, by seeing the defects in the object, by dosha darshanam of the Vishaya. Therefore, Shankara says, and that's the word they use over here, akamahataha, meaning lack of desire. So the word akamahataha, which you will see again and again in the mantra, it has to be understood as vairagya. So he says that very same Pratibimba. Now, this is the important part. Shankara says that the Pratibimba Ananda at any level, any of these 10 levels, can be obtained not necessarily by acquiring that level. Then how? Kamahataha. By developing desire or lack of desire, by developing lack of desire, vairagyam, for that particular level. Right? Okay. So what is the means then of, this is the means for attaining Pratibimba Ananda. Of course, the means for attaining original Ananda was, what is that? I hope everybody knows.
Please repeat the question, Acharya.
What is the means for attaining Bimba Ananda? Pratibimba Ananda, I have said, there are two means, acquiring and
Jnanam.
develop Jnana. The only way of attaining Bimbananda is Jnana, which means by claiming that I am Brahman, by claiming that I am Brahmananda itself. And so Shankara goes on to say that when the Mula Vidya is eliminated, and Mula Vidya is what? He writes a very nice phrase, Vishaya, Vishayi, Vibhagaha. Mula Vidya is seeing the difference between the subject and the object. When that difference is eliminated, which means when Triputi is eliminated, then it is Bimbananda. Of course, we should also carefully note that this Vishaya Vishayi subject object difference elimination is there every day for us, where in Sushupti Avastha. Right? But in Sushupti Avastha, it is not a permanent elimination because it happens because the mind goes it flows. Mind is no longer available to see the difference. And therefore, either in Sushupti Avastha or for that matter in Samadhi. So in Yoga Samadhi also, you experience this elimination of Triputi, elimination of subject-object difference, elimination of Pramata, Pramanam, Prameyam, Triputi. We do experience both in Sushupti and in Samadhi. Both are not permanent because you wake up. The only way to have it permanent is to understand through the jnanam that my own nature is Brahman. It is one undivided Ananda. Without this understanding, Bimbananda is never there. And so Shankara says it is for conveying this message that this whole Ananda Mimamsa section has been introduced. Okay, so that is the run-up so far. Now let us look at the words. So he says,
Acharya, I have a question.
yes, please.
So I think you said that in higher lokas, the avidya is less.
Yes.
The mula avidya is less. So how do I understand that? I am unable to comprehend.
You have less attachment to your body and mind, more dispassion.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Now you look at the other words. Where are we? Yeah. We have finished the Sa Eko Manusha Anandaha. And the next phrase is Te Ye Shatam Manusha Anandaha. So Shatam is 100. Now, supposing there are 100 units of Manusha Ananda. That's why Manusha Ananda, plural. There are 100 units of Manushya Ananda. Manushya Ananda, you must not forget. What is Manushya Ananda? The emperor who owns the earth, who is young and who is in good physical shape and whose Indriyas are capable of enjoyment. The Ananda which he has is Manushya Ananda. He says, Te Shatam Manusha Ananda. Supposing there are 100 such units of Manushya Ananda. What is that equal to? Sayeko Manushya Gandharvana Ananda. So that is 100 units of Manushya Ananda is equal to 1 unit of Manushya Gandharva Ananda. Right? As I said before, we will be seeing 10 different levels of Ananda. Each level has 100 times more Ananda than the previous level. So this is the second level. The Manushya Gandharva Ananda, the second level. It has 100 times the level of Ananda of Manushya. Manushya Ananda 100 times. And this is enjoyed by a superior jiva called Manushya Gandharva. Okay. Remember, this Manushya Gandharva is the loka where Manushya Gandharvas reside. And Manushya Gandharva is a superior being, a superior jiva. A jiva nonetheless, a superior jiva. And if he's superior jiva, what happens? What is superior? His sense objects are superior, and the sense organs are superior. The body is superior. Therefore, the combination of superior sense objects and superior sense organs, they give him more ananda than the emperor. Okay. Now we need to understand what is this Manushya Gandharva. So again, we have to depend upon Shankara. He says that look at the next level also. So you have Manushya, Manushya Gandharva, and Deva Gandharva. So what is the difference? He says both are residents of Gandharva Loka. Like there is a Loka is Gandharva. Manushya Loka is the first one. Then there is Gandharva Loka, which you also refer to in some texts as Bhava Loka and Antariksha Loka and so on. Right? So there are two types of residents there, of citizens over there. One is Manushya Gandharva and one is Deva Gandharva, both of whom are celestials, not human beings. What is the difference? When a person is, take one Srishti, when a person is born as a Manushya on earth, and because of lot of karma and upasana, he takes birth, the next birth, in Gandharva Loka. So this is this difference you have to understand. Okay, he is born as a Manushya in this on Prithvi, on earth, on Manushya Loka. He does a lot of karma upasana. And because of the effect of that, because of the punyam of that, in his next birth, he is born as a Gandharva. Okay, so same Srishti, in the same cycle of creation, he is first a Manushya, then he is born as a Gandharva in Gandharva Loka. That Gandharva is called Manushya Gandharva, to indicate that in the same creation, the same Srishti, he was first a Manushya and now became a Gandharva. Whereas, who is a Deva Gandharva? In this one Srishti, he has not been born as Manushya. He may have been Manushya in the previous Srishti, right? Or he may have been a Manushya Gandharva in the previous Srishti also. But in this Srishti, he is born as a Deva Gandharva. So he is an original citizen of Gandharva Loka, while the Gandharva, Manushya Gandharva is an immigrant. I mean, to use today's language, to use Trump's language. The original citizen is Deva Gandharva, while the Manushya Gandharva is an immigrant citizen. Both are citizens. But one is born in the Loka, one comes to the Loka, migrates to the Loka. I hope I'm clear. Any doubts? Okay.
So because they have different, because one is a migrant, the other is a resident, so they are supposed to have different levels of ananda.
They are supposed to have different level of upadhis. The sense organs available to the Deva Gandharva is of a higher nature than that available to a Manushya Gandharva. Both are Gandharva Loka. But the sense organs and the sense objects available to them are different, 100 times smaller. So in a Manushya Gandharva, the Upadhi is superior to Manushya by 100 times. And this is the Koshananda produced by higher Loka. Right? Now, what is a Gandharva? It doesn't talk about it here. But Shankara says that Gandharva has extraordinary powers. A Shiva having extraordinary powers, like appearing and disappearing, he specifies. And he says that both his Thula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram are very, very defined. Okay. So remember, right now, though we did introduce Deva Gandharva, that is because I was trying to differentiate. But right now we are in the discussion about Manusha Gandharva only. Right? So Gandharva Loka, but Manusha Gandharva. And this Manusha Gandharva has got extraordinary powers, and he's got a very refined gross body and subtle body. And then the Shruti says, Shrotriyasya cha akamahatasya. He says, by coming to this Gandharva Loka as an immigrant, this Manusya Gandharva has got 100 times the pleasure of a Manusya. But he says, the same pleasure can be obtained provided that you have Vairagyam for this Manusya Gandharva Loka. So, Kamahataha means afflict. Kama Hataha. Hata means trapped by or afflicted by. So, Kama Hataha, afflicted by desire, trapped by desire, overcome by desire. Akamahataha, a person who doesn't have desire. So now Shankara says, now the Shruti says that even though you can get 100 times the Ananda of a Manusya, of the emperor in Gandharva Loka as a Manusya Gandharva, the same, you need not come to Gandharva Loka for that. If as a Manusya in Manusya Loka, you have dispassion for Gandharva Loka, he says you can get the same amount of Ananda. Therefore, saying that 100 times the normal Ananda which that emperor employs, you can be a normal human being on earth, not necessarily emperor. And you can have that 100 times happiness of the emperor if you have this passion for the Manusya Gandharva Loka. And remember that this is not, the Vairagyam can be two types, One Vairagyam is through Jnanam, and one Vairagyam is Grepsarsar. So Grepsarsar is suppression. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about Vairagyam born out of education. And that is why the mantra says Shrotriyasya, the one who has studied the Vedas under a competent teacher for a sufficient length of time. He has done Shravanam, he has done Mananam, and he has done Nidhyasana. So the person who has Vairagyam born out of maturity, this passion born out of the study, born out of the maturity, he says for such a person, Vairagyam is there. And that person gets a Vairagyam equivalent to Manusya Gandharva Ananda. He gets this Ananda because his mind is calm. Well, that calmness is born out of dispassion for pleasures. And therefore, again, remember, this is Koshananda born out of Vairagyam. It is experienced Ananda. And therefore, this Koshananda, as I said, can be born in two ways, by going to the higher loka or out of Vairagyam. So it's a very, very subtle point that Shankara makes here, that if a person has got Vairagyam for Manusya Ananda, for him, the first unit of Ananda is not Manusya Ananda. For him, it is Manusya Gandharva, because he's experiencing that. For the emperor, the first unit is Manusya Ananda. But for the person who has Vairagyam for Manusya Ananda, his, level begins higher. So his first unit of Ananda is Manusya Gandharva Ananda. So for Vairagi, he doesn't need to experience the Emperor's Ananda. He has a much higher level, 100 times Ananda, which is Manusya Gandharva Ananda. And that is why if you see in the statement on Manusya Ananda, these two words, Shrotriyasya cha akamahatasya is not used. These words are used only in the discussion on Manusya Gandharva onwards. So the point is simple. The pleasure you get when you reject an object is 100 times the pleasure you get by enjoying that object. Okay. So this is the first level. That's why such an elaborate discussion. From now on, we'll make it shorter. So the next part of the mantra is ते ये शतं मनुष्यगन्धर्वाणाम् आनन्दाः स एको देवगन्धर्वाणाम् आनन्दः. Right. So he says, take 100 units, shatam, of Manushya Gandharvana Manandaha. What is that equal to? It is equal to Deva Gandharvana Mananda. Right. So who is a Deva Gandharva? Who is born in Gandharva Loka in the same Srishti, in the beginning of the Srishti itself. He is not a migrant. When the Srishti begins, he is born in Gandharva Loka. He has better body, better sense organs, and better sense objects available. This is again reflected Ananda, and it is higher because of the higher environment, objects and indriyas. And again, it is Koshanandaha. And then he says again, Shrotriyasya Chakamahatasya. So incidentally, this Gandharva Ananda is how many times Manusya Ananda?
100 into 100.
100 into 100.
10,000 times. Okay, so this you must keep at the back of your mind because we are grading the Anandas available at various levels. So 10,000. Then Shrotriyasya Chakamahatasya. That same Devagandharva Ananda can be had on Prithvi itself by a person who has Vairagyam for Devagandharva Loka. For Devagandharva Ananda, if you have Vairagyam, then you have rejected that Devagandharva. Therefore, by the rule we stated, he will have 10,000 times the Ananda of the Manushya. So what is the difference between this Viveki and the previous Viveki? The previous Viveki has Vairagyam for Manushya Gandharvananda, right? In addition to Manusyananda. But this Viveki, he has got Vairagyam for Devagandharva also. Therefore, his discrimination is higher. His avidya is lower. Okay. Then the next one is Teya Shatam Devagandharvanamanandaha Sa Ekaha Pitrunam Chiraloka Lokana. Okay, so idea is the same. 100 units, 100 times the Devagandharva Ananda is equal to Pitru Devata Ananda, Pitru Anandaha, Pitru Devatas. So again, note that Pitra Devata is a higher loka. Okay, now if you look at Puranas, it will tell you that in each loka, the longevity is more, right? So in Pitra Loka, it is a higher loka, and it is also called Chiraloka. Pitranam Chiraloka Loka means Chiraloka Vasi. So Pitranam Chiraloka is the name of the loka. Chiraloka, the loka which is Pitras. And the second loka means the resident. So Pitranam Chiraloka Loka. The second loka means resident. Therefore, for the resident in the Pitraloka, this is 100 times Ananda he has, 100 times more than Devagandharva Lokana. And Shrotriyasya Chakamahatasya. The same Chiraloka Pitraloka Ananda can be had on Prithvi by the person who has got Viveka Janya Vairagyam, dispassion for this particular loka also. So this, remember that if you have Vairagyam for Pitraloka Ananda, you have to supply in your mind that he has Vairagyam for all the other lokas also, all the lower lokas also, like Devagandharva Loka, Manusya Gandharva Loka, Manusya Loka, right? All these are lower levels. So the person who has a dispassion for a higher level of Ananda, obviously, he has this passion for the lower level of Ananda. And here Shankara makes a very, very fine point, which most of us wouldn't think of. He says, in the statement Shrotriya Akamahatasya. Shrotriyam is common at all the levels, which means that the Manushya Gandharvana level, the Shrotriyam, the Jnanam gained from Shruti, from the Shravanam, is the same as the Jnanam gained in the Devagandharvanam level or in the Pitranam level, right? The Jnanam doesn't differ. There is no higher Jnanam in higher levels. But he says the dispassion level differs. Jnanam is same, but the akamatvam, the level of dispassion, it differs from level to level. And that is why, because the dispassion at every level is higher, that is why the ananda is higher at every level. Very fine point, but worthwhile thinking about. Then it says, Te hatam pitrunam chirloka lokanamana. Sa ek ajana janam devanam ananda. So 100 units of the Chirloka Ananda is equal to 1 unit of Ajana Janam Devanam Ananda. So Ajana is a word we have not seen before. Ajana means Swargaloka, the heavens. And Ajana Ja, that means the Swargaloka Vasi. So Ajana Janam Devanam Ananda. The Ananda for a person in Ajana Loka is 100 times that of the Chirloka. And this is also called Devanam Ananda. So again, Shankara wants to give some inputs here. So he says, these people, they are born in Devaloka. Right? They are born in Devaloka. And Shankara says, Martha karma they do. Right? So what is the other type of karma? Shrauta karma. So he says that these people who are born in Swargalokas, in Swargaloka Vasi, these people are born in this loka because they did smarta karma, the karma which is prescribed in Smritis and Puranas. Agnihotram, remember, is not smarta karma, it is Shrauta karma. Shrauta karma is karma which is prescribed by the Shruti. And generally we say that Shrauta karma gives superior results to smarta karma. Now, therefore, we should understand that this Swargaloka can be reached by both types of karma, by smarta karma and Shrauta karma. And this particular line here, it is discussing the person who has reached Swargaloka through smarta karma. So, smarta karma you can take as karma prescribed by any Smriti Granth, any secondary scriptures. Means any scripture other than the Veda can be very broadly called Smriti. So even Puranas and Itihasas for that matter are included under Smartha. So any of the karmas which you prescribed in these texts, apart from the Vedas, if you do, that is a Smartha karma. And these people, they reach Swarga by using Smartha karma, by doing Smartha karma. And remember, as I said, you can also reach Swargaloka by doing Shrauta karma. So there are karmas prescribed by Vedas. Vedic karmani also you can do. And you have to actually now you have to do analysis because Vedic karma, Shrauta karma is superior to Smartha karma. The people who reach the Swargaloka using Shrauta karma have a higher level of enjoyment than the people who reach using Smartha karma. Right? And then he says, Shrotriyasya Chakamatasya, the same level of Ananda in Swargaloka can be had on Prithvi in Manushaloka by a person who has got Vairagyam for Chiraloka Ananda. Okay. Until this we saw, right? Okay, we don't have much time, so let me just go through the next one line. Te ye shatam ajana janam devanam anandaha. 100 units of ananda, which belongs to this ajana loka, this svarga loka. Sa eka devanam anandaha karma devana. So that's it. We didn't read. Sa eka karma devanam ananda. 100 units of ananda, which belong to the devas born in ajana loka. Sa eka devana manandaha karma devana. So that is equal to 1 unit of ananda, which belongs to a particular species of devas called karma devas. And who are they? Ye karmana devan apiyanti. Ye karmana devan apiyanti. They are called karma devas because they have done Shraut karmas and reach this loka. This is what I was saying. That's Martha karmas you do, you reach Swargaloka. Shrauta karmas you do. In Swargaloka itself, you are called a Karma Deva. And you have 100 times more Ananda than the person who has reached Swargaloka using Smart Karma. And Srotriyasya Chaka Mahatasya. This level of Ananda which you can enjoy by doing Srauta Karma and reaching this loka and being born as Karma Deva can be enjoyed by you without going anywhere in Manusya Loka if you have Vairagyam for all these lokas. So with this, we'll stop here. Just to remind you that at every level, we are increasing the Ananda by a factor of 100. So what are the levels we saw? Manusya Anandaha, Manusya Gandharvanam Anandaha, Deva Gandharvanandaha, Chiraloka Anandaha, and Karma Deva Ananda. What is the multiplying factor? 100 into 100 into 100 to 100 into 100 into 100. So far. With this, we'll stop for today. Any questions?
Om sir, just to
Yes.
clarify, all
Yeah.
these karmas can be done only before you reach Svargaloka because Svargaloka is only bhokta, no?
All
There
these
is no
karmas
karma.
are done in Manusya Loka.
Ah, right.
I have a question, Raviji.
Yes, please.
These are all, I mean, Gandharva or Swarlok or whatever you have described, is all psychological things, or there is some place in this whole universe, like
Yes.
Prithvi Lok.
We have to accept the first condition when we study Veda is we accept Veda as Pramana. So if Veda says there is a Loka, then we accept there is a Loka. We don't, we cannot try to rationalize it by saying it's a psychological phase. It is not.
So it may be some place in this universe, wherever it may be.
Yes, it is a Loka in this current universe, in the Srishti, the creation. And remember that those lokas are not visible to you because they are different. You require a different type of body and a different type of sense organ to be able to see those lokas. The
In
time frame
Bhagavad,
itself,
I
if
mean,
you
in Bhagavad, they have described about 14 lokas.
there are
So
14
that may be
lokas.
existing that.
14 lokas are the standard accepted what they call number of lokas.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, there are six below and seven above, something like that. Anyway,
Mhm. Got it.
okay.
But yet again, sir, the Ananda can be experienced here only, right? All that.
If you have the necessary dispassion.
The numbers are mind-boggling.
So I don't think you have to take it, take calculator and multiply. Okay. I think that the whole idea is to tell you that whatever ananda you think of, you can have it here itself. You need not wait till you die. You do your Sravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. As a Jivan Mukta, for you, even Hiranyagarbha Loka is Mithya. and therefore you have no desire for the Ananda. So the Ananda enjoyed by Hiranyagar by himself, you can have it here. That is what is trying to be conveyed. That there is
Oh,
no
sir,
need.
another.
Yeah. Yeah, Vanita, go
No,
ahead.
another small question. How do we grade objects? We spoke about superior object, sense organs and the superior objects. How do we grade objects?
Whatever object
Vishaya.
gives, whatever object gives you more happiness is,
Okay. Okay.
high grade.
Okay. Hmm. Yes, got it.
Like, not a good example actually. Half a teaspoon of strawberry ice cream is probably slightly lesser than, 1 teaspoon.
Huh. Yeah.
Not a good example,
Yeah.
but
Right.
okay.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay. So thank you for your patience. With this, we'll stop today. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat
Purnat
Purnamudachyate
Purnamudachyate
Purnasya
Purnasya
Purnamadaya
Purnamādāya
Purnamevavasishyate
Purnamevāvasishyate.
Om
Om
Shanti
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 Shanti Shanti.
Shanti Om Tat
Om
Sat
Tat
Om Namah
Sat Om
Shivaya
Namah
Om
Thank you very
Shivaya.
Namah
much.
Thank
Shivaya.
you,
Thank you.
Acharya ji,
Om
so